radio or writing for shows like Meet the Browns. I go one-on-one with comic Myra J to learn how she went from social work to social humor.
You get what you pay for when you fly these little cheap airlines. You know that, right? Yes. Get what you pay for, absolutely. I was on a doggone plane, was so cheap. Flight attendant say, last one in, close it up.
Do you write your stuff out, or does it just come natural?
I have to write it out. Oh yeah, everything is written.
They passed out the peanuts. I opened up the bag of peanuts, shook them in my hand. She said, what you think you doing? You take one, you pass the rest back.
The beauty of it is when we go, well, for me, when I go on stage, it should feel like I'm just thinking of it. It's like a conversation. It's like, girl, I'm just trying to talk to me. I've been working on that joke for 3 months, but
I would never know it.
You don't have to know that. You don't have to know that. You just need to feel like we're sharing a moment. Laughter is one of the greatest gifts. Just like you're smiling now, it just went straight to my heart, like boom. Because it's a give and take.
So how would you describe the comedy that you do? Observational or what?
Yes, it's very observational and what I've experienced. I'm not so much a joke teller as I am a storyteller. I do things, women go in and get mammograms, like all this. I get a mammogram, my mind has gone in 9,000 different directions. Like, that is not a mammogram. That's a panini machine right there. I mean, that's just where my mind goes. So for me, it always goes to that extreme. Like, okay, you call that what that is, but my mind is saying something totally different all the time. And I've always been like that.
Is there any subject you will not touch?
Not yet. Ooh. not yet. And I used to be, let's say, much more tentative. But I think as we just mature as people, as women, we get that 2 drops in the bucket attitude. Like, what are you waiting for? What are you saving it for? Why are you afraid? Live your life. Live your spirit. Life is short. Life is short, so if not now, when? Just go ahead and say it. Everybody isn't going to like you. That's okay. Do you like yourself?
It's been hot. God dang, it's been hot. Like the Lord got something to prove. Hell, it is hot. I went to pay for something, pull some money out my bra, George Washington, and pull his wig off. What the hell?
How do you know when a joke is really good and when it flops?
Oh my gosh, you know.
And how do you handle
it? You know, for me as a comic, as you learn to work the crowd and stuff, being on stage, I have learned to work my voice. And as the crowd is, laughing, I like to lower my voice and get very soft and talk like this, because then I notice the crowd comes down. And when you can hear a butterfly just pee on cotton, and the place is so quiet, in my mind I'm thinking, I got him. I can take this audience anywhere I want to go. Then there are times you tell a joke and and again, you hear a butterfly pee on cotton, and that's when you thought you was gonna get some jokes, some laughs, and nothing happens, and you just have to brush it off and keep on going.
When One-on-One continues, how a date's dare took her from social worker to comedian.
It was like 12 white guys performing, and they were all right, but I'm as funny as them. He said, if you think you're funny, every Monday night is open mic. I didn't even know what that meant. 48 hours later, I went on stage for the first time ever.
Look at this crowd right here. That's my people right here. I can see the pre-existing conditions all in the room. Look at us. Ain't nothing up in here but Social Security, disability, and retirement.
You know what tickles me about you, and I love finding out about you? You're a woman who has a bachelor's degree in communications, and then you've got a master's degree in education. You were a social worker, And then you became a comedian because of a blind date.
Yeah. Yeah, that part. Okay, just a little bit of history. I was voted most humorous female of my senior class. Yes, ma'am. So I've always had that little, I call it my little Ferris Bueller's day off kind of part to me, where I was always doing something and never getting caught. I went into social services because back in the day, as you well know, for particularly minority women, even if you were going to be a professional, you were going to be a school teacher, a social worker, a librarian, a secretary, blah, blah, blah. I went to college, okay. Nobody encouraged me to write. No one encouraged me to do comedy. So I became a social worker. And working at the unemployment, well, it's the employment office, but we always said the unemployment office. A guy said, do you want to go to a comedy club? I love comedy. I love Mama's Made Me. I had never been to a comedy club in LA. Went to a comedy club on a Saturday night, and I kid you not, at the end of the night, he said, well, and how was it? It was like 12 white guys performing. And I said, well, they were all right, but I'm as funny as them. He said, no, these are professionals. If you think you're funny, every Monday night is open mic. I didn't even know what that meant. That was on Saturday. 48 hours later, I went on stage for the first time ever to perform comedy.
She took a friend from her poetry club with her for support, and that night, talent scouts were there who liked her work, but
they said, you're funny, but you don't look like a black comedian, and we don't know what to do with you.
Wait a minute.
Yes, they did. And I will never forget it, because the comedy, the quote unquote sitcoms at that time was That's My Mama, What's Happening, Good Times. I knew exactly what they were saying to me. You're not dark skinned, you're not heavyset. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but you don't pigeonhole us like that. And when they said that to me, I was like, I'm getting ready to be a stand-up comic. Just because they said, we don't know what to do with you.
But comedian Robin Harris, famous for Bebe's Kids and the movie House Party, knew what to do with her after seeing her perform while the band took a break at a club.
When I finished, this guy came over and said, wow, you're really funny. I'm a comic too. And I'm like, okay. He said, my name is Robin Harris. That's how I met Robin. But the funniest part to me from that night was, he said, get in your car, follow me. Okay, fine. I follow him to this spot. It was somewhere near the 405 freeway in Los Angeles. And it was one of those nights where they would give us a room to dance and party. And we walked in this little tiny room, the dance floor is packed. And the DJ, I will never forget this, stopped the music and said, Robin Harris is in the house. And they stopped the music and I'm like, oh, we get our ass kicked now. You don't stop the music on a bunch of damn black folks dancing in the middle of the floor. Stop the music, and Robin walked over to, they didn't even have a stage, to where the guy was DJing at the little DJ podium with that stationary mic, and stood there and started firing off jokes. I had never seen anything like it in my life. And the people were rolling. And I stood there in awe like, oh, he's a comedian. He's a real comedian. And that's how our friendship started.
What's the best advice he ever gave you about being a comic?
Quit my day job. He was the reason I was so scared to quit. Well, you know what? It was different, especially it was so different for women. Because most of the guys that I met who were comics, they were in a relationship and the woman was working, so they could do their thing. Or it was like 6 of them living in an apartment with no furniture, you know. I was a single mom, and that was my #1 priority. So I still had to go, and I had to clean house, I had to do homework, I went into the club so many times smelling like pine sol, because I done mopped the floor before I had to come down there, and I couldn't hang out and lollygag afterwards because I dropped my son off with one of my girlfriends, so I had to go and pick my kid up as soon as I could come off stage and be a mom. And I do remember Robin said, Myra, you're gonna have to just quit, just jump in with both feet. And I was scared to, because he worked at Bank of America as a clerk or something, but he quit. And when he quit, things just started to take off, and he said, you gotta do it.
whew, you call it stepping out on faith? Pinch yourself a couple of times?
Yeah, well, you know what? When I quit, I quit social services. I got the opportunity to manage an apartment building in Beverly Hills. And they said all I had to do was come up with $200 a month to cover utilities. And I'm like, well, if I can't come up with $200 a month, I don't need to be a comedian. And that's how I ended up leaving social services, because the guy was like, you ever manage an apartment building? Nope, but I can do it. And that was the big flip. I never worked a 9 to 5 ever again.
I started looking around and found out you do a lot of public speaking with young people. Why?
Because I feel as though we have to give them hope. We have to give them encouragement. I think coming up when we did, it wasn't a lot of people that looked like us to give us encouragement. One of the stories that I tell people, I got a master's degree. I have a master's degree. When I needed a car. I had got a job in Los Angeles. Buses were on strike. I needed to teach a class out in Chino Prison, which was a good 35 miles away. This was on a got the job on Friday. I was supposed to start on Monday. I knew I didn't have a car. I went into back then it was the Datsun dealership. Remember that?
I remember
the
Datsuns.
Yes. And I'm sitting there and the guy isn't paying much attention to me. I'm just like, I need a car, I need a car. And I sat there and finally I said to him, I have a master's degree. And the man looked at me like, you have a master's degree? I said, mm-hmm. He said, show me a master's degree. You can pick out a car. I had walked to the dealership. I walked home. I wasn't speaking to my husband at the time, so I didn't tell him no story. I came home. I got my actual, still in the case, master's degree. I walked back to the Datsun dealership, and I went, sell me a car. And he said, pick out a car. So I picked out the cheapest one on the lot. And I picked out this blue, I still see it. It was a blue Datsun B210. It was a manual. I did not know how to drive a manual. When I got in the car, I asked the man, what's that extra pedal down there on the floor for? He's like, it's a stick shift. What that mean? Yeah, so I had to call my husband at the time to actually come to the dealership to drive it off the lot. But that's how I got the car so I can get to work the next day. And I share that story with students because I'm like, you never know what door will open when you have an education.
So who makes Myra J laugh? Up next, the two comedians who not only crack her up, but teach her something in the process.
Myra J enjoys being back on the road and the stage again, especially with her former Tom Joyner morning show comics, George Wallace and J. Anthony Brown.
I'm born raised in Atlanta. You tell me y'all gonna do stupid here. Section of Atlanta called College Park. Ain't got no college. Ain't got no park.
Who's your favorite comedian, male and then female?
My favorite comedian, male, without a doubt, Richard Pryor. Without a doubt, Richard Pryor.
Why?
Because he was so freaking quick. He was so freaking quick. Between him and probably Dick Gregory, because Dick Gregory was witty. Love Dick Gregory. Right now, female, it's hard for me, but I have to say, I'm really liking Wanda Sykes. Yeah, I like Wanda Sykes a lot. Because where I would like to grow as a comic is not just to make you laugh, but to make you think and laugh. Like, okay, girl, I saw what you did there. But yeah. And that's a skill. That's a skill.
So you are still honing your craft?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I always want to be better. I always want to be more creative. And with just the climate of the world today, we go on stage to make people laugh. to make people feel better. There is no better feeling than having someone come up to you after the show to say, I wasn't even coming tonight. My friends made me come. Or I just lost my mom, or my dog just died, or whatever it said. And I laughed so hard. Then I'm like, then my work is done, and thank you.
Thanks for watching. Hope you'll join me next month when I go one-on-one with voice coach Mama Jan Smith, the woman behind superstars like Justin Bieber and Usher. How she knew from the beginning that they were stars in the making.
Justin was the real deal, and nobody screamed when he came in or left the building, you know. He was just a kid, but his true charisma, his chutzpah, was all there.
Plus, he's a Grammy-nominated gospel singer, songwriter, and pastor. Marvin Sapp opens up about overcoming his troubled past and where he draws his inspiration from. And it's the untold story of a mother's resilience and courage. I sit down with the actress portraying Mamie Till and her pursuit of justice for her 14-year-old son in the movie Till. Join me October 23rd at 8 p.m. for the next Monica Pearson One-on-One.